Good morning, class. Welcome back again to our online discussion or online meeting. And for today's discussion, we are going to talk about the Mendelian genetics. Still, this topic is under the topic heredity, inheritance, and the variation of traits. So this will be the last topic for our quarter four. So for this topic, we have three learning objectives. So first is to explain the concept of heredity, traits, alleles, and genes. Second, differentiated dominant and recessive traits. And third, use the Punnett square to show how traits are passed from parents to offspring. So, but before that, before we proceed to our topic, please do not forget to fill out the entry and the exit ticket since it will serve as your attendance for today's discussion. Please be reminded that I will accept or the link will close at exactly 12 midnight tonight and failing to submit will be marked as absent. I hope you all understand. So, but before that, I am going to ask you, are you familiar with the app Baby Generator? All right, I think all of you are very familiar for that. Kay kita ra bata nang ga-assume na no kung kinsa gyud ang ato ang mabana, kinsa pud ang unsa pud ang ato ang mga possible offspring, kung gwapo ba or gwapa, lisod po, di na gyud na. So, I'll be showing video. I'll be using artists like Catherine, Danielle, Nadine, James, Liza, and Enrique as the parent, and we are going to see or to witness what their offspring gonna look like. Okay, please do screenshot if you can so that you will be able to identify what are the physical traits that the offspring had inherited from their parents. Alright, so that's it. That's the end of my video presentation using the Baby Generator app. And I hope that you have screenshotted those offspring that the artist had or the artist parents had. So, next. Explore yourself. So, for 2 minutes, explore yourself. Identify what physical feature is your favorite. So, in this activity, you need to explore what are the best or for you is your favorite physical feature that you had. It could be your long nose, your long legs, your fair skin, or your tan skin, so that you will be able to appreciate what you have and be unique because kana please stop comparing yourself to others since not all of us has the same genetic coding, right? So for 2 minutes, please explore yourself and later I'll be asking of what is your favorite physical feature. It could be at least two, one or more, or two. All right. So let's proceed to the next slide. We have here Mr. Gregor Mendel. He is an Austrian monk. He also considered as the father of the modern genetics. He introduced a new theory of inheritance based on his experimentation on the pea plant or the Pisum sativum on his backyard. He also developed the Mendel's law of inheritance. In the next slide, we are going to discuss what are the two laws of Mendel. or the two laws that was under the Mendel's law of inheritance. But before that, let's proceed to the next slide, which includes the terminologies for you to be guided. What is the term or what is the meaning of that certain word for you to be to prevent you from being malibog bitaw mo like inana. So to prevent you from being confused of what word is best suited for that certain sentences. So first in the list we have the heredity. So when we say heredity, it is the passing on of physical or mental characteristic genetically from one generation to another. So sa heredity murag sulundon na ni nato siya nga gene bitaw like ay akong papa addict to siya sa alcohol. So ang sunod generation ana it could be naapoy addict sa alcohol, no? Bisan pa og kita tanan may pero naadjay di jud na malikayan nga naadjay addict, so murag inana ang heredity. So next we have the trait. So when we say trait it is a distinguishing quality or characteristic, typically one belonging to a person. So kung yung tag distinguished quality, so we can say that it is unique kay distinguished ba ya, so unique. So when we say unique, murag siya ra ang naa. Say for example sa inyong family, three mo ka siblings, and the two of you or your two siblings they are tall nga ikaw kay short, so pasibot ana you're so unique, you have that distinguished quality or characteristic which typically belongs to you only since your two siblings are tall and you are not. So mo to siya, so distinguished gid na siya nga quality para sa imuha. Next we have the alleles. When we say allele, one of two or more alternative forms of a gene that arise by mutation and are found at the same place on a chromosome. So, allele kay mura ni siya og gene ang allele. So, those are the chromosome we had. We have 46 chromosomes, no? 23 from our father and 23 from our mother. So, all in all, we have 46 chromosomes. And in that chromosome, mabilong na dira ang ato ang mga hereditary traits, ang ato ang sex, kanang cells, like kuan ba ka, kanang female ba ka or male. So, very distinguished gid na ang ato ang chromosomes. Next, we have the genes. When we say gene, it is a unit of heredity, which is transferred from a parent to offspring and is held to determine some characteristic of the offspring. So, kung naglibog mo kung unsa ning heredity or ang genes, ingon mo same man na sila ma'am or different man na sila ma'am, but ang heredity is under niya ang genes. So, when we say under, ang heredity di ay is the general term sa genes. When we say genes, it is the specific characteristic or specific heredity of that person. So when we say gene kana ang, say for example, hello, fair skin kay siya. So kung may tag fair skin, that would mean nga tsada ilahang genes. Tsada ang genes sa iyang parent. It could be namana na niya from her father or from her mothers, but kung wala iyang both parents niya kay tan skin, dili sila fair skin, it could be nga nakuha to niya sa iyang grandparents. Kaya it could be possible since our parents are carriers. Even though dili na sila dominant traits, but we are carriers of that certain genes. Right? So, next we have the dominant traits. Dominant traits is the most common or observable trait. So, when we say most common or very observable, so, sa kadaghanan, no, daghan gyud og straight hair than curly hair. So, kung ingon tag straight hair, that means that is dominant trait. Kay most of the people has straight hair. But if we say kanang wavy, so that means nga mura siya unique characteristic between the two different traits. So when we say two different traits, like iyang parents is straight hair, iyang mother, iyang father kay curly hair, but wala niya na kuha to ang pagka-straight o pagka-curly sa iyang mama and papa. But iyaha bitaw na mix, maong na wavy siya or what we have that term called codominance. When we say codominance, no, like ako na discuss later. So hang on. Next, we have the recessive trait. It is the opposite of the dominant. So if dominant is common or observable, so recessive trait is possibly the less visible but present. So say for example, no, sa recessive trait, like imuhang mama is mestiza, imong papa is pure Filipino, but wala nimo nakuha ang pagka-mestiza sa imong mama. Hence, you inherited the pagka-Filipino sa imong papa. But it is possible that you are carrier for that certain gene that your mother had. Like sa iyahang pagka-mestiza. So it is possible pod, no, nga for the third generation, a second generation, like ikaw ang first generation from your parents. So, ang second generation is imuhang offspring, which is the grandchildren of your parents. So, it is possible that ang pagka-mestiza sa imuhang mama is inherit sa imuhang children. So, that is possible. Kay recessive ba yata? So, what if ang imuhang husband kay recessive po siya ato nga trait? So, it is possible nga ang recessive din yung trait is ma-dominant siya since naanay duha ka trait nga same sila. Alright, so next we have the phenotype. It is a set of observable characteristics of an individual. So, like what I've said earlier, it is observable. So, mura na po di siya dominant, no, kay observable. So, ana na lang. If phenotype, it is dominant kay observable traits. Say, for example, fairer skin, tanned skin, curly hair, straight hair. So, mao ang phenotype, which is makita sa mata. Next, we have the genotype. It is the genetic constitution of an individual organism. So, mura siya recessive. Kung ang phenotype is dominant, ang genotype di ay mura siya recessive. Dili siya makita, but naana sa imuha. Like, naa sa imuha siya within, naa siya sa imuhang genes, pero wala siya nigawa sa imuhang outer or physical appearance, but you are carrier. So, inana siya, dili siya makita. Ang phenotype is makita, ang genotype is dili. Makita lang siya through genetic coding. Okay. Next, we have now the Mendel's law of inheritance. Apparently, Mendel's law of inheritance has two sub-law, and we have the law of segregation and the law of independent assortment. So first we have, let's talk about the law of segregation. So the law of segregation states that for any trait, each parent's pairing of genes or alleles split and one gene passes from each parent to an offspring, which particular gene in a pair gets passed on his completely up to chance. So, makita gyud ni nato karon ang pagka very distinguished sa duha ka law. Okay, kay mag-phenotype man ta, mag-Punnett square man ta. Punnett square rather, dili siya phenotype. So next, we have the law of independent assortment. So the law of independent assortment states that different pairs of alleles are passed on to the offspring independently of each other. Therefore, inheritance of genes at one location in a genome does not influence the inheritance of a gene at another location. Alright, so let's differentiate the two. First, let's have the law of segregation. The law of segregation is a principle described by Gregor Mendel in which the two copies of each of the hereditary factors segregate from each other during the production of gametes. So that is the law of segregation. On the other hand, the law of independent assortment is a principle described by Gregor Mendel in which the individual hereditary factors are independently assorted during the production of gametes when two or more factors are inherited. And the law of segregation is the first law of Mendelian inheritance. It also describes the behavior of non-homologous chromosomes, and its ratio between offspring is 3:1. If we have four characteristics, say for example, 2 from your parent, from your mother, and 2 from your father, it is possible that all 3 are dominant while there is only one that is recessive. While the law of independent assortment, it is the second law of Mendelian inheritance. It also describes the behavior of alleles. Its ratio between offspring is 9:3:3:1. So there are nine possible genes or nine possible characteristic no nga masunod sa law of segregation kay iya separate. So it could be filial generation. All right. Let's proceed to the next slide. So I have here three example of a Punnett square, and I want you to copy this or to write this. This only kaning nag-square diri sa pea plant kaning 4 ka buok. And this is the example of the Punnett square for pea plant, for flower, and for the chicken. So sa pea plant, we can say we have here the parental generation. We have the F1 generation or filial 1 generation and the filial 2 generation. So kung sa parental generation, we have the dominant which is smooth, round, unwrinkled pea plant or pea seed. We also have the recessive which is dili siya round and very wrinkled pea plant. So sa F1 generation mahimo na silang kana ang smooth round pea plant, dili na pareha sa ilang isa ka parent which is um kana ang wrinkled siya no, makita man nato diri kay but these two offspring is carrier ato nga particular trait sa katuang wrinkled nga pea plant. So, if the two possible offspring atong sa parent generation kay puro sila dominant, round, smooth pea plant, we have here the F2 generation which shows that our ratio is 3:1 like what I have said earlier no nga 3:1 ang generation. Ang ratio I mean kay if angkat ni siya nga kana ang parent kay maminyo pud siya ug same sa iyaha which is carrier pud sa um recessive atong trait sa isa ka parent which is kana ang dominant and mahimo bitaw siyang heterozygous which means kanang different alleles or different traits ang iyahang gina-carry. Kay kung homozygous man good is pure lang siya like atong sa parent na pure siya dominant nga smooth round pea plant and katong isa kay homozygous pud siya nga wrinkled dili siya round nga pea plant mo na silang homozygous like wala bitay mixture. But kaning sa first generation ato gikan sa parent is himo na silang heterozygous which is the mixture of the two different alleles or the two different traits. So it is possible nga sa F2 generation na nila naagi maliwat nga isa ato which is carrier siya sa both recessive trait which is the wrinkled pea plant. So mao na inyo nakita dire. Here this is total dominance ni siya no, total dominance siya kay mas daghan man ang kanaang smooth round nga pea plant kaysa sa wrinkled. So next we have the example 2 which is the flower. We have here the dominant white and dominant red. So kanaang when we say dominant that represents with big letters while the recessive represents the small letters, right? Okay, we have here the dominant white, and the dominant red. So makita nato nga walay naliwat like pure white or pure red, but nahimo siyang pink, which means the mixture of the two different alleles or the two different traits coming from both parents. So nahimo na silang dominant red and white, both kay pink man siya, so mixture sa red and white is pink, but both sila dominant. So this is called co-dominance. Kay wala may nagdominant sa duha, wala may nagdominant nga color like red or white, but na-combine siya or na-mix. So that is called co-dominance. Third, we have here for the chicken or for the animals. So we have here the blue colored chicken is I mean blue, is it blue or gray? Okay, it's gray na lang. So here we have heterozygous chicken no kay naaman siya duha ka trait which is big letter B and small letter b, which means the big letter B is the dominant, the small letter B is the recessive. So murag mixture na ni siya. It could be nga iyahang parent is black and white na mix siya, nahimo lugar siya inani. Or it could be nga iyahang papa kay kana ang dominant black, iyang mama kay dominant ay recessive white. So nahimo siyang mixture sa duha, nakuha niya ang kana ang naminyo din to iyahang mama o kana ang kanang carrier pud sa kanang recessive nga trait, so nahimo siyang naliwat noon siya. Siya next, naapod dayon tay kana ang homozygous recessive nga trait, no, which is the black. Ang isa blue gid ay gray. Black gid ay siya. So pag abot na din ani pag phenotype, BB, di ba BB, kung BB lugar dako nga B o gamay nga B, so ang iyang offspring is kani. Igabot po diri dako nga B, gamay nga B ang iyang offspring kani. But pag abot diri kay gamay man nga B, gamay nga B ang kani ang naa diri tapos gamay pud nga B, so ilang anak is could be black kay ang katumang blue nga chicken is na carrier siya sa black nga trait, which is recessive sa iya kay wala nakita. But ang iyang na partner is homozygous black recessive, so ang ilahan nung na offspring is homozygous black pod na liwat na. So ang ratio din ani is 2:2. Kay 4 man sila tapos kana ang duha kay same sa isa, ang duha pod same sa isa ka parent, so 2:2. Next, we have here some joke, no? The homozygous and the heterozygous. He said, "Hey, bromosome." Na siya, "Sup, homie." Ang isa dayon, "We're just too different." So, kisa may makafeel ani, we're just too different dili. Like, di mo compatible lugar, ana. Charis. So, we have here sample problem, no? Please get any paper nga pwede masulatan and then pen or ball pen or anything nga pwede nimo masulat. And refer to this problem. In pea plants, tall pea plants represent with big letter T are dominant over short pea plants represent with small letter T. Construct a Punnett square for tall and short pea plant and must include the ratio, phenotype, and genotype. Let's go back to the previous slide. Kani mao ni imuhang himuon ato nga problem. Kaning sa pea plant kaning gi-box, isud sila mga box. Tapos babaw is katong isa ka parent, ang ubos is kato po isa ka parent. Dapat imong i-indicate nimo kung dominant iyang trait or kuan yung trait. So given naman din sa atong sample problem nga tall pea plants are dominant over short pea plants, which is kamo na bahala to. And please submit it to our Google Classroom for checking, and that will serve as your activity for today. So that's the end of my discussion for today, no? And please appreciate and love your differences, and be unique. So that would be all. Thank you.